A lot has happened since my initial impressions on Horizon Zero Dawn. I've explored the world, learned its secrets, and slaughtered my biggest enemies yet. And now I think it's safe to say that Horizon Zero Dawn is definitely one of my favorite games, exclusive-wise, on the PS4. And the quality and polish of Guerrilla's first RPG justifies this 100%.
Happy birthday, Isaac.
So, going into this review, this is going to be spoiler free, and I'm going to try to do the same thing I did with the last Guardian review, where I'm trying not to go too much into the story, because, shocked or not, I did actually go through this game, pretty blind, and I think it's better for that reason, and I hope that you guys get to experience it the same way. But yeah, with that said, let's get into the story, which is definitely one of the best parts of this game, and I was really skeptical of this before going into it, and honestly, I came out completely shocked. So in Horizon Zero Dawn, you play as Aloy, an outcast of the Nora tribe, and very early on in the game, you do play as her as a little kid. I'm not going to get into detail about what you do, but it is pretty big stuff. But ultimately, it leads you to be playing as her to find out why she's an outcast and what happened to her family, and ultimately what her worth is into this world. And from there, the story pretty much gets you hooked. Now, as you guys know, I was very skeptical of the story. In fact, I thought this was just going to be another RPG-like game where the story would be at, the very, 10th thing that they focus on the most, and, what they want to get focused on more is content, and, it might be quality-wise, but I definitely didn't think the story was going to be something special, and honestly, that's the part where I got surprised by the most, I'd say, and yeah, in one word, I'd say it's pretty amazing, and yeah, again, this is what actually got me hooked in the game, and why I did spend all these hours into the game. I think that's, pretty much the biggest reason why. There's some other things like gameplay as well, but I'm going to be going to the gameplay a little bit later. But yeah, the story is very strong, and in many ways, I actually was hooked by the story more than Uncharted 4, which is something I probably would have not thought I would say, because, Naughty Dog always seems like they'd be the king of story, and to see Guerrilla tackle this and pretty much hit it nail on, and, pretty much tackle this and pretty much get it down right on the first attempt, that is pretty amazing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure from a lot of people that have played the story, I don't think there's been people that said it's I think a lot of people have said that, it's pretty good. At least to those that have played most of the game, or at least are halfway through it, I think they can all agree with that. Again, I don't want to go too much into the story, because this is the part of the game that I feel like you want to go into the most without knowing anything, and I think that ultimately, if you don't know anything about this game going in, I think it's gonna serve you better in the long run. Now, talking about the open world, this is the part where I feel like I don't agree with what everybody else says. Now, a lot of people are saying the open world is so good that it feels like a linear game, and that if you like linear games, you're gonna like Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, I don't think that's 100% true, because this game, honestly, there's no getting around it. It is an open world game. It is just like, just like what Ubisoft has done, just what other games have done. But with that being said, this game is an open world that has quality. As I said before, the story is amazing, and pretty much the side quests are too. Now, in my early impressions of the game, I said the side quests aren't that good, but when I played it through a little bit later, this actually did get me into some pretty interesting parts of the game that I might have liked even more than some single player missions. And yeah, that's crazy. There is definitely a lot of stuff to do in side quests, a lot of characters to meet, a lot of new items to find, and a lot of new enemies to fight, and it ultimately is worth doing. I think you can get an easily 50 plus hours out of this game, and side missions are going to take up a lot of it. Praising this game aside, there are some cons with the side quests, because there seems to be a lot of, one type of side missions, and that is the fact that you track a lot of stuff. Now, there is a pro and a con to this, because there is a lot of tracking, but at the same time, it leads you to different places that you might have not traveled into the world, and you actually might find some secret notes that might even give you some hits on what this part of the world used to be, and just ultimately finding stories of characters that you wouldn't find unless you went on that certain, beat it off the main path, and then ultimately found that location. I know I'm kind of rambling, so it doesn't really make sense, but if that makes sense to you, you go into different locations that you might have not found before, and ultimately it leads to different encounters, and it leads to ultimate different things you find, and maybe even some Easter eggs along the way. But yeah, as I said, this is very much an open world game, and with that, fast travel is definitely a thing in this game. But the way they do it, I actually really like. A lot of people don't like fast travel in games because, you feel like you don't explore the map, you just teleport, and it can, break the immersion in the game. And some people do like fast travel because they don't want to run along the games. I know a lot of people that don't really have much time to play games, so they, start to stray away from RPGs because, half the time you're running to your objective or anything like that. And, well, this game kind of meets in the middle in that fact, because you can fast travel in this game, but it will cost you. You need to have fast travel packs, you need to craft that, you need to be able to buy that. And ultimately, if you don't, you're crap out of luck, and you have to travel there on foot, or, I guess on mounting. And yeah, so it kind of meets in the middle that way. So I feel like, each party that, agrees differently, I think they can agree that, meeting in the middle is definitely a fair compromise. And if you don't like fast traveling, well, there's always a thing that you don't have to, you don't have to fast travel. So, yeah, the fast travel in this game I don't think is a problem, and I actually really liked how they tackled that, and I don't think a lot of, games do that, which is really, really neat. So, let's get into the skill tree now. I don't want to go into the skill tree that much before going into the gameplay because I did go over this in my early impressions of the game, and pretty much nothing has changed. The skill tree is good, but it's not too special. The gameplay, nothing has really changed. I did fight some bigger robotic dinosaurs ever since, and man, those fights are pretty big. A lot of these things can wipe you out in one hit, whether that's the smack of a tail or the bite of a jaw. And it is pretty amazing fighting a new creature for the first time, learning its moves, not sure how it attacks, and ultimately you gotta learn how to, and you're probably gonna die for the first time fighting the thing, or at least get very low until you can figure out how to take it down. And I haven't played a game where you're constantly fighting something way bigger than you are and having to still beat them since Shadow of the Colossus maybe, and man, it's a really good feeling in combat and definitely doesn't make it up. Again, the human fighting in this game is not the best. So yeah, a lot of people say that this game gets way better, later on as you get deep into the game, and I'd say that's for the most part, but I actually felt myself loving this game even more after I beat the story, and that's just for the fact that, you have freedom. I felt like I was always tied to the story because I always wanted to figure out what happens next, and I was completely glued to it that I kind of like, gave everything else away. I did do a fair amount of side quests and errands, but there always was that, lure to go finish on and figure out what's happening in the story, which that is definitely a pro for me. But once you finalized it and got a satisfaction ending, it is a lot more fun to be able to roam around and do side quests, freely without having that lure of the story. So I guess it's a good thing that the story is really good that you want to play it, but it definitely gives another pro later on when you don't have to play it anymore and you can finally explore the world. And yeah, it just gives a way of multiple playthroughs of this game. Different people are going to go different ways. Some people are going to be wanting to know every single fact in this game and read every single thing you come across. I'm not that type of person, but I definitely like to listen to the audio logs and figure out what happened here beforehand. And it definitely, I'm kind of like in the middle of that spectrum, I guess you could say. And yeah, ultimately, everybody's going to have a different experience with this game. You're all going to come across the same things, but at different times and different ways. And maybe say the different things to different people. Again, there is that dialogue tree. And there is some cons to this game with the dialogue tree. I think that's the biggest flaw in this game is when you have to talk to people because the animations are kind of clunky and it definitely feels really dead and no really facial, features, I guess you could say, like Uncharted 4 or Order 1886. And it definitely does really feel dead when you're talking to somebody kind of like that way. Again, the animations in this game are really clunky, I'd say, in some aspects. I didn't find it that long, but when it did come up, it kind of felt weird. But yeah, I guess that's like the only flaw I have with this game. This game, honestly, is really polished. I'd say it's probably the most polished game I played in maybe a couple years, which is kind of crazy. There's always game bugs in many games that come out now, but Horizon is definitely a game that I haven't come across too many glitches. There was one side quest that I did finish, but I can't finish it because it is glitched, and that is a big issue. So hopefully maybe in a patch that will get fixed, or maybe it is even working out so I can go back to him and finish the side quest. But other than that, the game is very polished, and definitely for this scale is definitely a great triumph for Guerrilla Games and what they have been able to do, and that's kind of phenomenal. So wrapping it up, I do want to talk about the graphics in this game because that is a big controversy to this game. Of course, Zelda just recently came out, so a lot of people are comparing the two and maybe even making fun of Zelda based on its graphics. And I'm not gonna boost up Zelda because it's graphics, or say that Horizon's way better, or say that Zelda and Horizon are the same, but I'm not someone that really likes to compare graphics. I'm not someone that compares graphics and say, oh, I'm gonna have a better enjoyment because I'm gonna like these graphics. That being said, Horizon does have really good graphics, so it does immerse you into this world a lot more. And it is probably the best looking game I played on the PS4 yet. But that being said, again, I don't think it's a big deal for graphics. I don't like talking about them too much because, honestly, with the development, I don't feel like that, they're striving to have the best graphics. I think they're trying to tell a story and have a gameplay that's more fun than anything. I don't know, I find it kind of shitty when people, just compare graphics, and that's what, developers made. They just made graphics for a game. There's a lot more to it. And I guess what I'm trying to say is graphics don't really matter to me as much. I like playing retro games. I like playing, big open world RPGs at times. And, to me, the graphics don't matter that much. Whether that's cartoonish, whether that's realistic, whether that's, 2D retro games. It doesn't matter to me. And honestly, I've already said it. Horizon's a really, really beautiful game. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. But again, yeah, that's just my opinion, I guess you could say. A lot of people have different mix on that. But yeah, with that being said, a lot of people want a final score on what I think Horizon Zero Dawn is. And after, I guess, 30 plus hours of this game, and I'm looking to put probably a dozen more or so in this game at least, I'd say that this game, I'd probably give it like something like a 9.2, 9.3 out of that area. I don't think it's perfect. I do think it has its flaws. And again, this is my personal opinion, so, don't say it's, objectively a 10 out of 10. I rate games based on my personal experience and just how it made me feel and how it impacted me and how much I had fun with this game. And ultimately, Guerilla Games did an amazing job with this. And yeah, so it's crazy. We're coming up on a week now. Horizon Zero Dawn has been out. What do you guys think of the game? I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation with you guys. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying Horizon Zero Dawn as much as I am. And definitely, if you haven't picked it up, I hope I've, influenced you, or at least, gave you some information more than you haven't had already. And, just, I guess that decides on whether you purchase a game or not. So hopefully I helped you there. And yeah, guys, I've been Online, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And I'm going to try to not say guys as much as I do already. So I guess everybody, I'll see you guys later. And I just said I've been Online. This has been my Horizon Zero Dawn review. Peace out.